We're in the home stretch here, and I'm just going to say there is no subliminal message in Sebastian's shirt. It's just words, in case you're wondering. So Klarna is a company that we've been watching for years because you've been on the kind of bleeding edge of AI adoption within your company. I've been pretty public about how you're using it and the gains that you had. Sebastian co-founded Klarna in 2005 after pitching the idea at a business school competition, and 20 years later, it's one of the world's largest fintech companies, over 100 million active users. You had an IPO in September, and he has been one of the most outspoken CEOs on the uses of AI within organizations, the impact on jobs, including your own jobs. Since late 2022, I think Klarna has reduced your workforce by roughly 40% through natural
50.
Attrition. So roughly 50% through attrition, not layoffs. But AI has been a consideration in that. We'll talk about that. And 96% of your employees now use AI daily. 100% maybe?
I hope it's 100 though. Sounds like.
The company's AI customer service assistant handles the equivalent work of 850 customer service agents. Is that still true?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sebastian said AI can do all the jobs that we humans can do, including his own.
I had I had to pay a lot for saying that. Yes.
Yeah.
That was a very expensive thing I said. Yeah.
Your board reduced your salary as a result
exactly.
of,
No, but people were very angry with me for saying that.
Well, so we've got him here. Really grateful for him to come here from Europe to actually talk through some of the lessons from and what they've learned. We've been really eager to have this conversation. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing that. I want to start with the most famous sort of case study from Klarna. So you rolled out a customer service AI agent, and it's evolved over, your strategy's evolved over time. And can you just sort of walk us through what your experience has been?
I think media has a tendency to kind of simplify the story a little bit. First and foremost, what happened in our case was that we didn't have, we were not the best customer service, meaning that the most simple questions that normal companies would have dealt with in FAQ or press 1 or press 2 in IVR system, we had humans deal with them. So it was easier for us to automate and give this to AI, because the question would be did I pay? Yes, you paid. Okay, good, right? So it wasn't the most sophisticated errands. But the benefit of this was that to me, when I first experienced ChatGPT, which was in 2022, I was just wow, this technology is going to change everything. And I remember I was Jesus, I need to know who's doing this. And then I found out there's this guy called Sam Altman building this stuff. And so I called Sequoia, which is a shareholder of ours as well, and said, can you make an intro? Because soon this guy will not make meetings anymore with somebody like me. He will mostly talk to governments and stuff. So I jumped on this plane to San Francisco, and I had a 2-hour session with Sam booked. And by the time I arrived, it was only 30 minutes, which already was telling me okay, this is going fast.
Just got in there.
Yeah, I got in there, and I talked to him very quickly, and I was trying to convince him. And then, funny enough, he said after that, he was so what are you doing in San Francisco? It's I kind of come here for you. So he's do you have any dinner plans? And I was no. So anyways, but the point is I told him, I want us to be your guinea pig. I want us to be the ones that try everything that you do, all the new stuff. And we started doing that with OpenAI, which was very helpful. Today, I actually personally work more philanthropic. But we did apply that in customer service, and very early on and it was a scary moment, to be honest, because we kind of built the first AI-powered customer service at that point of time. And the scary thing was when we kind of pushed a button and literally 600 agents were out of jobs.
Yeah.
And that was scary because I've never seen that. To some degree, you've always done this, right? You try to improve your product so less people call you because something's broken, it doesn't work. So there's nothing new that you try to optimize and make your product function better so that you have less, people complaints or issues and stuff. But seeing a single thing take away 600 agents, that was scary. Now, in our case, we mostly worked with outsourcing. So a lot of these would be working agents for big customer service companies, and these agents would go on and work for other clients who still had a lot of errands. So nobody lost their job, there and then. Teleperformance, one of the big companies, lost $1 billion in market cap when we announced it.
Yeah.
But nobody lost their job there and then. But it was, to me, just wow, this was a shocking moment to see. And since then, we've kind of improved on it. But to be entirely fair, if you try our AI customer service today, I'm not going to be proud about it. because what happened internally is we started realizing, wow, if we want to bring this to the next level, it's not going to be enough to build it and do it the way we do it. We're going to have to do it in a totally different way. And since then, we've had a lot of our smartest people work on like, how do we bring it to the next generation, which I hope we will be able to release. Well, we will release this year, but let's see in a few months or something.
And part of what you've said, and you have to like set the record straight on this first, please, but was that the AI agents weren't, in terms of quality, there were some concerns, and you actually started hiring people to do customer support, not in the outsourced centers, but actually in your own company as part of your evolving strategy.
Yeah, so that's another thing. So a lot of times people get like, it's funny nowadays because sometimes people use us as an example of AI success and then they use us as an example of failure.
Yeah.
It's like,
it could be both, right?
Yeah, it could be both. But no. There was a few things that we realized. And one of them was, first and foremost, like the big thing when we launched AI, which we had most chat, not phone.
Yeah.
So the big thing was actually, I think all of you experienced it. You chat with the customer service representative, and they obviously have 5 other chats going on at the same point of time, which makes sense because you may also be busy doing other stuff. So you're going to be like a little bit annoyed. You know, you're not going to focus on this, and so the agent does. But the problem with that is when you then chat with your agent, they are slow in responding because they may be busy with 4 others at the same point of time. And the difference with AI was that the medium time for a customer to resolve its errand went from 12 minutes with humans to 2 minutes with AI, which was just that like basically the AI responded immediately, right? So it just took shorter time. So the quality was higher. Now, what we also ended up thinking about was like, okay, but in the end, like what happened when, you know, whatever, we got factories making shoes or, you know, or furniture or whatever, we start appreciating what is crafted. We start putting a higher price at what's crafted. So we kind of felt like, well, there's a counter trend here as well, which means that our like AI customer support will be the cheap stuff. It will be the one that everyone gets. But then there will be the VIP one, which is like, I got to talk to a human, right? I got somebody who like had an emotion and actually talked to me and cared and like, you know, whatever. So we then tried to send, which is very difficult, like, you know, media is not very good with like 2 things can be true at the same point of time.
Yeah. You're talking to a journalist here. So
So,
like, go easy on the criticism.
So then we kind of tried to come out to Bloomberg and say, look, we actually are rethinking this, that we're going to use AI to support humans and also support the simplest errands. But we think it's going to be like the future to offer human support. It's going to be like the VIP treatment. And we want to make sure that we do that. But that also means that our customer service, to be honest, was more of like, hey, let's worry about cost and make sure those agents deal with a lot of errands very quickly so the costs are low. And we now have to flip that into, these has to be our most passionate, engaged employees that love the Klarna product and support our customers in a way that's VIP, right? So it's also a transformation of who do we hire for customer service? Who works there? What kind of salaries do we offer them? See what I mean? It's a whole transformation of the thing. And actually the most exciting project we have currently is we're hiring our own customers. So we're actually onboarding our own customers. The most passionate customers, we're saying to them, just like they can go, today some people of that generation will go down and drive an Uber because it's a nice extra gig, right? And we're doing kind of the same. We're saying if you're a Klarna user and you love the product, you can come and work for our customer service for a few hours. And we see people work remotely. And the difference is these people they love Klarna, right? So they know how it works. They know all the, and their customer service is just so different, right? But again, these kind of more nuanced messages are difficult to get out in a Bloomberg article.
Well, we're giving you airtime today.
Yeah, I'm happy to.
So, and what you're saying, just to recap, like you're saying that human customer service becomes a kind of VIP experience, and it's similar to the artisanal coffee that I paid $9 for that's made by a human when I could actually get it from a machine.
That's exactly it.
That sort of thing. And so you're hiring your customers, you're hiring people internally. Can you talk to us, at the beginning, you actually corrected me that your staff numbers have actually dropped by 50% through attrition. And how much of a factor is AI? And can you explain that as well?
So because we are predominantly, most of our employees were in Europe, not in the US, labor laws are different. Meaning also that like in the US, there is a different culture where people simply say, okay, you're out because and that's not how people do things in Europe, and people can have different political opinions about this. I'm not going to get into that debate. But
and you're based in Sweden.
Yeah, most of our employees, like the bigger base, like we have a few, I think half a thousand of people here in the US, but the rest of our now 3,000 people, 2,500 is in Europe. And so that obviously has some implications for this. But the other thing we said is okay, what's going to happen, and it's to me very clear, AI will take jobs. Like I'm not going to pretend anything else. I think that's going to happen. So, but rather than then rather than pretending to my employees that that's not the case, we said, let's be frank and honest about this. But then we asked ourselves, how can we do that so that's not negative, right? Or at least make it less negative for our employees. I'm not saying for society as a whole, this is going to be a major problem. Yeah. But I'll talk about my company now that I need to deal with, right? And what we decided to do is we said, look, we know already that Klarna, just like other tech companies, have a natural attrition of 20%. So that's just like typical tech company. People stay 5 years, they move on to do something else. So we said, if we stop hiring, if we really commit and manage to stop hiring, we will naturally shrink by 20% every year without having to do layoffs, right? And then, but that obviously means that all of our employees needs to adopt these AI tools to drive the efficiencies, because otherwise we couldn't operate the business because it's a growing business. You have to remember, from 2022, we used to be 6,500, but we are now less than 3,000. But our revenue has grown and exploded since then. So the revenue per employee has gone from $300,000 to $1.3 million in that time frame. Oh. And then what I said to our employees also said, guys, I'm going to be honest, this is what's going to happen. But as a consequence of that, we're going to do a lot of savings because we're going to become less and we're going to do more. And I promise you, and I've talked to the board, we're going to reinvest a big portion of that in acceleration of your compensation. So the average compensation at Klarna per employee has grown 60% or something. I can't remember the exact number.
Wow.
At the same point of time. So my employees know that they're driving efficiencies, but they are also participating in getting the benefit of that. It's not just more work, it's also more compensation.
Yeah.
And then again, people have choices. I want to be in that environment, I want to lean in, I want to use AI for my work, or I don't like Klarna, I want to move on and do something else, and that's okay, right? And everyone can make their own choice, but at least there's a clear incentive for the people that participate in this.
Does the number go to 1 eventually? You let attrition continue, you're the last man with all of your AI agents?
One thing, again, it comes back to the same I said about customer service. Yeah. Relationships are not going to be replaced by AI anytime soon. And for example, one of Klarna's, a big part of our employees are today teams that work with our partners. Could be like Macy's, Sephora, etc., right? And I have amazing teams that are distributed across the world. So I have people across 50 offices, and they sit in, they are in Seattle and deal with local companies there, or they're in, Portland dealing with Nike, or they're in China dealing with Shein, right? So they're across the world. Those people, AI is not going to touch their jobs. Yeah. So there are obviously pockets, but there are other pockets where it's having very significant implications for the amount of people you need to do something.
And how does this impact how you hire? Your workforce strategy, do you hire young workers, for example? I think the percentage of your staff that is technical actually has gone up over time.
Yeah, first, the interesting thing is that first we said, okay, let's not hire at all non-engineers. Yeah. And only hire engineers. And that was kind of the first 2 years. But now it's switched, actually. It's almost the opposite. Because what we find, and now I'm generalizing slightly, but engineers tend to be very technical, but don't understand the business as well. Yeah. While non-engineers tend to understand the business really well, but don't have the capabilities. But now what's happened because of AI and everyone can code, suddenly the business people, the engineers, they're like, okay, I coded this feature, what do I do next? I don't understand the business, so I need to go and ask a business person to tell me what the next thing we should do. I'm obviously generalizing. Not obviously some engineers are better at this and so forth, but generally speaking, while the business person knows exactly what they would like that dashboard to look like or that feature to look like and so forth, and if they can talk to the computer directly to do that, then suddenly they are creating amazing things very fast. So I think there's a shift right now where I feel that we ended up at 50% engineers. And now I think the business people, again, will take, but it's more like a business person that actually understands the customer, that loves speaking to the customer, that enjoys that conversation, and then thinking about using AI to bring more value to our customers.
It's really interesting it'll be interesting to see how this plays out, because kind of what you're describing is actually the external facing people are ultimately becoming more valuable. It's
Yes.
the people who are interacting with your clients. It's the people who are interacting with the consumers.
Again, back to customer service, right?
Exactly.
Like those people, who knows the best which features we need to fix?
Yeah.
Our customer service people. Like
Yeah.
that's just the case, right? So I actually think that it's not unlikely that work in like 1 or 2 years at Klarna will basically be everyone, including myself, answering customer service calls and then basically telling the AI, hey, we should go and fix this.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I think it's almost like that, because again, the human relationship is not going to be replaced.
That's really interesting, because the story of Klarna has been that you took customer service calls and gave them to AI, and
Yes.
you're kind of flipping it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think to some degree, yes.
That's really interesting. So we've talked a lot about customer service, but I know that you've been very aggressive about using AI in other functions in marketing and other. Are there any particular uses that, particularly for folks here who are thinking about how they can put this to work, that you think are the most compelling and most important?
No, I think it is scary, right? I think it's scary for everyone. Personally, I think it's scary depending on like how you see life and so forth. Like personally, as an entrepreneur, like a lot of my passion in life is solving problems. Yeah. And it is scary to imagine a world where that is not necessary.
Yeah.
Right? For me as well, because that's like what I love to do. And yes, it's nice to go on a fishing trip with the kids or whatever, but like I also like to solve some problems, like.
Yeah.
But that's why I'm happy about this thing, because I personally used to work as a bar waiter at a 5-star hotel. Mm-hmm. And I love running around and serving customers. I actually still, just for the fun of it, every summer I work in a local small grocery store, just one day. And I just run, and I just love coming in there and like, packing up the goods and serving the customers and putting a smile on their, like, so I actually enjoy it. I get energy from that.
That's great.
I think that serving other people is a meaning in life for me, and everyone is different, right? But so I feel there's a lot of good work to be done. But internally, when we've applied AI, it's scary.
Yeah.
Everything can be done by AI, and more, right? And it changes all the time. I actually yesterday had this experience. I was trying to visualize a very complex accounting principle, and I was trying to visualize it, and it was a very complex thing. And what was so fascinating, I used Claude for this, was that to really like pedagogically explain this thing in a way that everyone would understand, you need to have like visual skills, you need to understand the math, the accounting rules, you need to be really cross many skills. And historically, I would have brought in people of all these different skills and then tried to get them, but the designer would not really understand the financial implications, and the financial person would not really be able to express it visually, and so forth. But Claude is all of these things. Mm-hmm. And so actually the piece of work it created to me was like, Jesus Christ, this was actually at a level I'm not sure us humans would have been able to do.
Yeah.
Like it was so pedagogical, so clear, so like, and I was just like, that was a little bit scary again. I was like, wow, this is the first time I felt AI did something that humans were not capable of.
Yeah.
See what I mean? Like each single, because it just required to be proficient in all of these different things.
Do you think
that is scary?
Can AI serve in leadership or management roles? You
Of
said
course.
that AI could.
That's the easiest thing.
AI
Like,
could.
That's the easiest thing. Look, I actually said this is funny.
You're reducing your leverage and salary
talking about my trip.
negotiations, yeah.
Talking about my trip to San Francisco.
Yeah.
I said to Sam, people are going to be scared about their jobs.
Yeah.
Who does everyone hate the most? CEOs, lawyers, and bankers.
Yeah.
So train an AI
Journalists too,
to become
sometimes.
less so, I
Okay.
would say. Train an
Thank
AI
you.
to be the first job should be a CEO AI.
Yeah.
Right? So we can get rid of the CEOs. Like everyone would share that.
Yeah.
So I was just like, why don't you focus on that rather than the customer service jobs? I think that like
Sam, who's a CEO, didn't want to start
no,
there,
it
but
wasn't like.
It wasn't.
I was like, that would be cool. Like you could train it and then it could do the work. Yeah, to some degree. I mean, no. I think obviously, again, it comes back to relationships. As long as organizations compromise of people, then being able to lead. But I think it's important for me. It's always been important, but even more important is lead by example.
Yeah.
Right now, right? So show people what's possible.
Yeah.
Right? Show them how to use these tools. Empower them how to use these tools, and learn yourself so you truly understand. So you can. So you can show people.
And you're vibe coding prototypes and bringing them to meetings and things like that.
Yeah, and it's, people like this vibe coding is getting a bad reputation, but I think that I genuinely believe that people, like the one thing I would encourage everyone to do is to download Cursor.
Yeah.
Really just download it. If you haven't done that, just download it, pay the license, and just, it's actually kind of, and if you need help, ask ChatGPT how to do this.
Yeah.
But just create a project and then just push in an idea there. Just like build me something. And I think if you haven't done that, you will not fully appreciate the change that we're going to go through. So just do that for yourself. Spend the 1 hour and do that specific thing, and it will show you what's possible. I had a meeting recently in Klarna where we were doing pricing. So we need to look at like how do we price our services across 25 countries, etc. Whole team working on this. They bring me a Google Sheet.
Yeah.
And it's actually kind of hard to interpret. Like there's so many things, and they've done really proper work. They've gathered all these data from different places. They show me this sheet, and I'm like, oh my God. They understand it because they've been working on it for weeks, but I'm trying to very quickly process all of this information and make sense out of it. And I also try to make sure to validate that what the data they've collected is actually accurate and kind of, makes sense and so forth. And I was like, okay, wait, guys. So while they were like presenting, I was just like, I took the Google Sheet, I throw it into Cursor, and I said, build me a dashboard and a visualization of this data that I can actually interact with and understand that makes sense. And 40 minutes later, when they were still talking and doing the presentation, I was like, guys, stop the minute. Let me show you this.
Yeah.
And it was like easy for everyone to understand. It made sense. People could interact with it. Okay, what happens if you change prices like this? Then this will happen. This is the implication. This is the competitive benchmark. And I think it blew the people away, right, in that team. But again, I'm just showing them, like, look, guys, you can do this.
Yeah. They don't resent that you're like sort of shortcutting their expertise.
Of course it is both. No, but
Yeah.
Of course it is both. Of course there's some frustration. Of course there's some, but what does it mean for my career that my CEO did this now and I had done it? Like, of course people are thinking.
And he wasn't listening to me. No.
Yeah, exactly. But I can't let that be the case, right? I have to, again, that's why I'm telling everyone that like, there's no layoffs. You guys have jobs. Learn the tools. Become more productive. And then I'm having that message at the same point.
And we'll raise your salary as we can. So we're just over time. Yeah. Just as a last, do you have you've been through this like pretty intense journey with AI. What advice do you have for people? You mentioned downloading Cursor, using it. Is there any other kind of lessons that you would share?
I just think that it's like, just try, iterate, and test and learn. I think that's the best thing you can do, right? I think that Cursor idea is probably the most concrete one.
Okay, great. Thank you for sharing this.
Thank you for having
experience. Thank you. That was great.